Joyce.
Really very happy to meet you. I've heard a lot about you, and I can't wait to talk to you. And we'll start with your name.
I'm Pep Tomasovic, better known as Pep. My real name is Priscilla. I'm 89 years of age, and I've lived here for about 69 years.
And today's date is
It's April the
17th. 2025.
25.
Right. And we'd kind of like to talk about the nursery and about your husband and his family, his father, how it all started, and what about the orphanage where they lived.
John's father became an orphan when he was 6 years old. And he had twin brothers and a sister up there also. The mother and father died very, very young. And so they went through the 6th grade, and then, bingo, you're out. But it was strict. I have different stories that he told me when he was up there, experiences, but you didn't hear much about it. They had visitors once a month. If you brought anything into the home as far as food or anything like that, it had to be okayed by the family up there. For instance, one thing, if you did something wrong that was really bad, the kids up there loved tapioca for dessert. And so you got your tapioca taken away from you. That was your punishment. Every child had something to do, whether it was outside gardening or raising food for the home. I know my father-in-law grew potatoes and all after he was out and had his own, and they would take potatoes and all up to the home for the kids up there. You also had to make your bed every day. It had to be made, he said, you had to be able to bounce a quarter on it, or you didn't get any tapioca. Once he was out, he had been given some seeds, and he grew flowers while he was up there. He was in the ag part of it. And they gave him some flowers and said, you're on your own. You're on your own. His sister, and the little house that's in back of the city hall right now, which was our orphan home, is the bakehouse, which I literally did most of the restoration on it for quite some time. And she was the baking. All the cooking was done outside in the bakehouse, because in those days you worried about fire. That's why you saw so many southern outdoor kitchens. My house had an outdoor kitchen for years. I wasn't on that part, but it was. And most of the baking and the cooking was done out there. The other two boys, the twin boys, did odd jobs around the orphan home. My father-in-law went to work for Mrs. Kirkwood. Those were the greenhouses over on Doherty Ferry and Lindman. No, Doherty Ferry and Lockett. She was not a very nice lady to work with. She gave him a place above the boiler shed to live. He was allowed in her house twice a year, Christmas Day and New Year's Day. From there, he bought some property up on Lockett and Manchester, which was, it was a horse race track, believe it or not. And he grew flowers up there, he worked up there. Well, then he came over on this side, and Myers owned the property from Manchester Road back to where we are. So there were 3 of them. And Mr. Meyer decided he didn't want to do it anymore. And so he gave his 3 businesses to his sons. Well, they really didn't want the business either. And so my father-in-law went to work for Charlie Meyer, which is the place you're seeing out here. And he made a go of it. He had the greenhouses, and he said to him one day, how about you buy my greenhouse? He said, I can't buy your greenhouses, I don't have any money. He says, well, that's all right, just buy them anyway. So my father-in-law, back in 1931, bought the property, he and his brother, George. George really was not crazy about it, but he went along with it. Of course, in those days, I think you probably took whatever you had available to you. My father-in-law ran it until 1969. He was a very ill person at that point, and so that's when John and I took it over. We do have some greenhouses down here that probably nobody knew anything about that we have from the St. Louis Girls Fair. They're still in production. Tells you how long things last that were made in those days. Not today. You can have a greenhouse for 5 years and it falls apart. But we started out in cut flowers. We were nothing but cut flowers. And that was things like snapdragons, chrysanthemums, carnations, wildflowers, those kinds of things. Well, then we could see that maybe the cut flower business was not the total business to be in. So after we bought it, we had to make a big decision. All of our flowers went to LaSalle Street, and they were on a consignment basis. If they sold them, you got money. If they didn't, you didn't. Well, that kind of went out with high button shoes. So we made a big decision, my husband and I, after he had put his time in the service and came back, that we either had to pull away from them and go on our own or whatever. When you took consignment flowers down there, carnations might be 15 cents a piece today, but they could be 50 cents tomorrow. It fluctuated that much. So we decided that we were going to go on our own. Sink or swim, that was the way we were going. We had outside plants also. We did a lot of outgrowing stuff. Still, no pot plants or anything like that. They were all cut flowers. So we managed to do okay because we went to the retailers and told them what we were going to do. We'll sell you a carnation $15, 15 cents today. We'll sell it to you 15 cents tomorrow. But when it's 10 cents, you're still going to pay 15 cents year round. So it was better for them. They knew what to expect, and it went well. Well, then they found out that they could buy their carnations and everything and get them sent in here cheaper than what we could grow them. And we could see the trend coming. And so we decided, well, I think we better change our thinking about what we're going to grow. Mom and Dad were gone at that point. And so we decided, well, we're going to start a few geraniums and some bedding plants. We started that, and it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And we haven't had cut flowers now for quite some time. Denver put us out of commission on that because they could send them in here cheap. California did it to them, and then foreign countries. Most of the cut flowers that you get today are not American. They're sent in here from foreign countries. Ecuador, places like that. So we have now become pot plant people, growing things that you can have in your yard, in your greenhouse. So we started growing geraniums, petunias, marigolds, all the nice little things that you have in your yard. Well, then we had built a base on landscapers coming in here that wanted material for their jobs. And they kept saying to us, when are you going to have mulch available? And we thought, So we added mulch to it. And then somebody said, well, why don't you go into the nursery business too? Then we can have one-stop shop right through the whole thing. So that's when we went into the nursery business. So now, we changed our name from Tomasovic Florist to Tomasovic Greenhouses and Nursery. Because when you are a florist, people think that you're a retail florist. And you'd be surprised how many calls we get about arrangements for funeral homes and what have you. And we don't do that. And we are strictly wholesale only because DePere will not allow us to be retail because we don't own, we're not 30 feet from Manchester Road, 300 feet, we're more than that.